Hello, Commanders. I am Mathermar from the command table, and this is SR9 Volcanus. We have enhanced melee and wounded debuffs to work with, and we were able to manage to do it with only the immunity and power elixirs. Now, we needed those because he has had a massive HP buff, and we'll discuss that in a moment. First, if you would please like, subscribe, and if you want notifications when I drop new videos, hit that notification bell. Also, if you have any comments or if you have a build you'd like to share for taking down a boss, please feel free to submit that as well. So this is what we're talking about with the health buff. You'll notice in the patch notes from this current season that Volcanus has had a huge health buff, and they don't really specify how much, but it is big. And it has been noticeable. So there's a little bit of that to factor in, but it's not too big of an issue. The main issue that we have to worry about is getting to Volcanus and getting him locked in with that Frostbolt. Now, what we're working with here, again, you'll notice power and immunity elixirs, and we're working with the Claw of the Frost Dragon, the Amulet of the Panther Queen, and the Spear of Cataclysm. Now, the reason we're doing that, the Claw is going to enable you to only use the one Frost Wizard, whereas in other builds, you'd have to use two to keep Volcanus on lockdown and to get the damage that you need. So the Claw is preferable as far as that's concerned. Some people want to use the Primal Warhorn, and that'll get you to him, but you won't be able to keep him locked down long enough unless you have the two Frost Wizards. So there's kind of a cost-benefit analysis that you have to make there. And we'll show you the SR9 attempts that as a comparison, even though it's not a direct comparison. So the reason that we're using the Amulet of the Panther Queen is because of this wounded debuff. Now that's going to reduce the health of all of my units by about 95%, which puts you way below the threshold that you need to activate the attack speed. Or no, it's just a run speed and the attack speed debuffs. So that's going to buff all of these nature units, and that's going to help me to push through. The reason that we're using that over the Ring of Unity is because it takes 5 seconds for that Ring of Unity to pop for the nature units, and by then it's almost too late. You've wasted half of your 10-second immunity for that. So this gives you the full sustain for your nature units all the way through and helps you to get that push to him to where you can get him locked. So let me show you. This is actually my second attempt. I had to cap him off because I was only able to get him down 83%. And I had the problem with pushing. You'll see down here that there's a bunch of units still here, and the Frost Wizard's going to be shooting this direction. We want him to all clear at about the same pace and get to him early enough to where the Frost Wizard only has Volcanus to shoot at right before your immunity wears off. So you'll notice that I've got some units down there, and that's because I had all of my level 12 units up top, and they were able to push through very quickly, but my level 10 units at the bottom just didn't get there soon enough. Now, because of that, because the Frost Wizard shot down here, Volcanus was able to pound the vast majority of my army to where all this was what was left. So not much, and I was a little bit panicked, but I had 40 seconds left to have these last couple of units get done what needed to be done. So they're able to pull it off. It takes a while to get there, so we'll speed it up. But that was the issue that I had there. So this next attempt, I balanced it out, and they were able to get it done. But then Stigma posted his build, and I started using his build. He gave me permission to share it, so we're going to go ahead and show you what I did with his. Now, for his build, he does not use the power elixir. He's able to get it done with only immunity, but he's using all these same artifacts with the Pendant of Everlasting Winter instead of Spear, but you could probably switch that out too, because again, that Claw with your one Frost Wizard is going to be enough to keep him on lockdown. So that's one tweak that I would probably make going forward with his build. But again, no power elixir, just immunity. And he's got Berserk on everything, except for, I think, his hammer throwers. So there's Berserk and Unshackle for all of this stuff. So the Unshackle is crucial because anything that hits you has a very high chance of stunning you for 5 seconds, and you cannot afford to have anything stunned for that long. So hammer throwers, watch what these do towards once you get to Volcanus. So keep an eye peeled on that. Now, I do not have the Berserk Powerstones, but I do have the Power Elixir, so that kind of compensates for it. And I'm able to get the push, but then it's just, can I tag him soon enough? So we get him tagged, and now look at those hammer throwers. They're able to reach him, whereas if you had all your Warhounds packed up, I've lost quite a few of them, but if you had all of your Warhounds bunched up, most of them would not be able to attack. So this actually increases the amount of damage that can get done because they're able to reach. All of your Wraiths are going to be able to reach no matter what. They always seem to find a way to get in there and to hit the boss. But when it comes to the Warhounds, they always get congested, and it ends up being a problem. So I think that's an excellent idea, using those hammer throwers. I put aim 2 on both of the yellow power slots, and then corrupted damage on the red slot. So that gave me my new best. I was able to get him down and was very pleased with that. Then we got to the point where I used that build for a while, and I actually added the Berserk Powerstones. So watch how much faster this clears. Everything just disintegrates, and we're able to get to Volcanus very quickly, and boom, he's tagged. But watch that. Okay, right there. Did you catch that? There's a little pop from an Earth Elemental right down here. The Frost Wizard shoots it and misses Volcanus for half a second, and boom, he gets a meteor off, which destroys half of my army. And there's so little health on them that even the burn on that is enough to take him out. So this attempt ended up being a fail, I believe. Yep, fail, because he was able to tag my army with that. So sometimes you're just going to get freak stuff that happens that you can't really account for, and there's not really much you can do. This one was even more tragic. And I did have some successful attempts. I've decided not to include those because it's just the same thing over and over again. Wanted to show you where things go wrong. See, boom, right there. That's okay. Again, let me show you what we're missing here. Okay, now watch this meteor pop out. It's going to hit my Frost Wizard. Out of all the units that are on this battlefield, he picks my Frost Wizard to shoot. And we've got 3 seconds left on our immunity from here. He tags him, and the burn is still ticking on him when that immunity wears off. There goes my Frost Wizard, and there goes any hope of getting anywhere with this attempt. So sometimes crap happens, and oh well, there goes a key and a couple elixirs. But sometimes it goes very well. So this was one of my good attempts. I had a lot of them, but just very tidy. All the mechanics work very well. Everything pushes great. We get all the way to the boss and we freeze him, and the Earth Elementals don't send a bunch of spawns way forward, and it just goes smooth. So sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't. We can't expect everything to work perfect every time. But if you're going to use Stigma's build, that was a couple of problems that we ended up running into. There has been an update for the builds that my clan is using. I'm waiting on the person who designed it to give me permission to share it. So once I get that, I'll share that with you. But so far, this one has been fairly successful. I think I had 5 smooth runs and 3 that had problems, but it's still very, very dependable for what we had to work with at the time. So let's go ahead and finish that off. Now we're going to show you Anturium's build for SR13, just so you can kind of see the comparison of how that goes there. There's a couple of things to point out here. You notice his unit levels. He's got 8s through 10s, and we're on SR13, so there's going to be some differences in the wounded debuff and the enhanced melee debuff. But again, very comparable to Stigma's build, using all the same artifacts, using all of the same elixirs with the addition of the regen. Now notice what happens with that regen. His health is going to be accumulating during the immunity, and he's able to get to the boss and get him locked in, and then his health continues to accrue until it's going to deactivate his Amulet of the Panther Queen, and if he's got Berserk on any of his units, that's going to be nullified as well once he gets over 50% HP. So he's still able to get the heart, and he's still able to get, I think, about 11.5 million damage. So let's go ahead and skip ahead to that. Okay. So yeah, he's, again, the regen, kind of counterproductive and not necessary. But what he does is he removes that after he gets about 11.6 million damage on that attempt. And then, okay, so here he goes. He removes it, takes it off, and we try without it, and he actually does less damage. And it took us a little bit to figure that out. He's the one that actually figured it out once he sent this to me. But he only ends up doing about 10.5 million damage. And the reason why is, even though he doesn't have the deactivation of stuff from regen, all of his Warhounds get bunched up in the back. And it's just how they pathed and how they cleared to the boss. He's still able to get the heart, but there was an issue there with their pathing that caused them all to get bunched up and not reach the boss. So sometimes that just doesn't work out the way that you'd hope. But yeah, the regen was totally not necessary, and he figured that out real fast and had a very solid build for SR13. So let's go to the SR9 for those of you who are at a lower level. And this is also the difference in using the 2 Frost Wizards and the Primal Warhorn. So again, same elixirs, and I'm using the Primal Warhorn in the ring. There's no need to use Amulet of the Panther Queen because you will not be low health. If you're below SR11, you won't have that second boss modifier to make that usable. So Ring of Unity for anything that doesn't have Wounded is going to be preferable. Now you'll see the Frost Wizards have pretty good offset, but it's just not quite enough to keep them fully locked down. I've already gotten the heart, so I'm not worried, but that's the main issue with not using the Claw of the Frost Dragon. Even if you're using 2 Frost Wizards, it's still often not enough to keep him locked unless you get it perfectly calibrated. Now, you'll notice with these next couple of attempts that even if you get it to what you think is perfectly calibrated, it's not. And the reason for that, okay, that was my first go. So here, even when you have them spaced out to where it works most of the time, you're going to end up with issues with them getting hit with the meteors. You're going to have random pops on the earth elementals that cause them to shoot at different times. And then boom, they're both shooting at the same time. Now watch this. They both shot at the same time, and this is something to note. Even though this one walks forward, the cooldown was still going, which meant that they kept shooting at the same time. So just because he's walking doesn't mean that that's going to create a new offset. So long as he's walking during that cooldown, he's going to keep shooting at the same pace as the other guy. So another thing to factor in, just real quick, is the Ring of Unity increases your attack speed as well. So for the duration of the 11 through 15 seconds, or longer depending on the rank of your Ring of Unity, they're going to be attacking very fast. And they do, which keeps them on lockdown. But since they're both shooting at the same time, once their buff wears off for order, they don't hit him fast enough. So you will be able to keep him locked down for a while. But again, once they lose that attack speed, then they're not able to maintain it. So let's go ahead and move on to the last one. This one, the meteor hits one of my Frost Wizards, which actually changes where he's at and when he's shooting. So that's, again, another thing that you have to account for. If you're using 2 Frost Wizards and you're depending on that to keep him locked, then that's going to possibly cause some problems for you. So that's why I think it's better. That's why it's better to use the Claw of the Frost Dragon, because it's just more dependable. I think that was Hell giving me permission to show his video. We'll check that out here in a minute. But yeah, the Primal Warhorn is just not ideal. It's better to drop a Frost Wizard, put some more melee units in there, and get that Claw of the Frost Dragon to make it to where you can keep him locked without having to worry about it. So let me pop over and see if that was in fact the Notorious Hell giving me permission. Sorry about the working video. Discord, just wanted to... All I ask is credit. Okay, sure. So let's go ahead and show you the attempt that I did with Hell's build. Let's see, the PBs were a test for the meteors. Okay, so that's good to know. You lose, but you can another hound to replace it. Okay, so yeah, let me show you the attempt that I did with Hell's build. And that's actually really exciting because his build is very, very solid. Now, let's go ahead and pause it here to show you what he did. This is my replication of his build. He put all of his Wraiths up front, and obviously the Frost Wizard there, you need that. All of his Warhounds behind the Wraiths, and then he's got 2 sets of Direwolves behind that. Now he's using the same Elixirs and the same artifacts that we've been using for the other builds. It's just the formation that's different. Now he threw in these Plaguebearers, and I replicated his build as is just because I wanted to see how it worked. And this was the one attempt that I did with it. But the thing about the Plaguebearers is that he was just using them as a test. They really aren't necessary. And as you watch, they don't hit anything the entire time. So I'm obviously going to switch that out, and I think he is as well. But watch how smooth this works compared to the other couple of builds. Just very clean, just wow. Everything gets shredded like crazy. It gets pushed very well. There's no stragglers left behind for the Frost Wizard to have to shoot down at the bottom or up at the top. It's all right here now. And look at that. Just smooth as butter. And I end up doing 3 million more damage with this build than I did with any of the others that I tried. So props to Hell for that. Way to go, dude. Very, very solid build. I'm going to be using this one for the rest of my attempts. And again, the only change that I'm going to make on it is to remove that Plaguebearer group and to put in another set of Wraiths. The reason I'm going to do Wraiths is because you notice all of these Warhounds around the periphery that are doing absolutely nothing. If you get another set of Wraiths, they're going to push their way in and they're going to be able to hit the boss. So that's probably what I'm going to do, and that's the only change I'm going to make. So there you have it. Those are all the different builds that we've been working with. Thank you for watching. Again, please do all that liking, subscribing, commenting, all that stuff. Please support the channel. Helps us with the algorithm. And oh, there we go. Thank you. So yeah, we will have more content for you soon. And thank you for watching.